Well, good morning, Katie. My thoughts are broadly that it just got much worse for Trump from at least two big perspectives. Look, the first is from an obstruction sort of view. I can't overstate how broad this pattern of obstruction is. It goes from everything from playing games with Nara to turning over things that he shouldn't have taken with him to begin with. It goes to working with his attorneys to try and fudge the search of Mar-a-Lago. It goes to moving boxes around. And now it goes to things that we've seen about deleting the server or information that had the CCTV coverage. So this isn't just one obstructive act. We now have a very broad, multifaceted, obstructive pattern, which frankly we've seen for a long, long time. I mean, that was the entire second volume of the Mueller report. Now, the second big thing that is in the superseding indictment is the government added one mishandling count, and it is notably the document allegedly that he showed to people up at Bedminster. And while Trump on that audio tape that we saw in the charging document talks about, hey, this is secret, it's still classified. In fact, the document that was added by the government as one of the charges is classified at the top secret, no foreign level. Now, what does that mean? Top secret means information by statute that is defined as information that, if released, could reasonably be expected to cause exceptionally grave damage to national security. And the no foreign part stands for no foreign dissemination, which means that this information was so sensitive that we as a government don't even share it with our closest allies. We don't share it with the Brits. We don't share it with the Canadians. So this indictment just gets much worse for Trump. It highlights the danger that he poses to national security, and it really shows what he was doing to try and undermine the judicial process.
Peter, you tweeted out a really fascinating thread that I was doing a deep dive on yesterday, and you said that one thing that stood out to you about this indictment are the efforts that Walt Nauta appears to have taken to hide his presence beyond the text emojis at Mar-a-Lago over the weekend of at least June 25th to the 27th of 2022. I mean, explain how Nauta's actions hurt not only him in his case, but actually all of the defendants, including Donald Trump, that have been charged in this case.
Well, absolutely. One of the things that the superseding indictment lays out is this very tight timetable about how and when the Trump campaign, via his attorneys, first heard from the Department of Justice that they were going to issue a subpoena. They received a draft subpoena and then the actual subpoena itself. And then the things that occurred with Trump calling individuals like Walt Nauta, and then the things that, Walt Nauta was at one point scheduled to travel with the president. He canceled that without telling anybody and made plans to travel instead down to Mar-a-Lago. And he's telling people about it using shush emojis. And then as the superseding indictment lays out in some really fascinating detail, he goes down over the weekend and he starts engaging in communications and back and forth with De Oliveira, including a weekend, or I think it was actually a Monday meeting after a lot of back and forth, where Nauta parks at an adjacent property. He doesn't even go on to Mar-a-Lago. And De Oliveira comes out, goes through some bushes to meet with him, goes back in, and then goes back out a second time to meet with Nauta. Now, what were they talking about? The indictment doesn't specify. But anytime you see this sort of very odd behavior where somebody is deliberately taking measures not to go into Mar-a-Lago with now two charged co-conspirators, it's a really compelling dramatic narrative for a jury. But it also kind of raises the question, what was so important that Walt Nauta was there over the weekend, was engaging in these meetings, but was absolutely unwilling to go into the Mar-a-Lago property?
Peter, you mentioned a couple of minutes ago about that Count 32, which were the top secret military plans that were not going to even be shared, with our foreign, allies or even foreign countries. I had a little back and forth with Andrew Weissman last night about that count, because that document actually ended up back in the hands of the federal government because it was returned by Donald Trump as a part of that first tranche of documents that went back to NARA. In your opinion, does that undercut some of Jack Smith's claim, or his case, in terms of the willful retention of this national defense information?
Well, Katie, I think it cuts both ways, and I think the government looked at the pros and cons and decided it was more advantageous to add it. Look, certainly the defense is going to try and make the argument that, yes, this document was returned. Now, notwithstanding that Trump had it, for an extended period of time after he left the presidency, that he apparently displayed it to people without any reason to see it whatsoever. Certainly the defense is going to say, hey, we returned it. Much like the defense is going to say, like all this classified information, hey, government, show me anything that went wrong. Show me any human source that was wrapped up. Show me any technical source that went dry. Those are things and arguments the defense is going to make. But one of the benefits is that certainly by introducing this count, it really, from an evidentiary perspective, makes it much more certain that the government is going to be able to introduce that audio tape at trial, which is absolutely compelling evidence. So I think at the end of the day, you know, it does show, regardless of the fact that Trump returned it ultimately, he kept it for months and months before then. And not only that, he was showing it to people who had no clearance, who had no reason whatsoever to see it. So I do think it was to the government's benefit to add it. And I think that was certainly, you know, the result of a very reasoned calculation by the prosecutors before they added it.
Well, I think it's great because now you have audio of Trump referencing a document that he lied on Fox News and said wasn't there, wasn't a real document. But now the government has the document. Peter Strzok, I'm always so grateful for you to take the time to join me. And I want to say, if I was hearing your cat, bring the cat on the Katie Phang Show next time. Come on. We love cats and dogs equally here.
That's introducing a wild card that I can't predict which way it's going to go.
That's okay. You know, listen, you're in the FBI. I'm sure you could handle that, Peter. That's not a problem. Peter Strzok, thanks for getting us started today.